We have reports today we want to get to about the IDF going after the leader of Hamas in Gaza. Okay, multiple reports saying that an Israeli strike on a hospital that the IDF says was being used as a Hamas command center targeted the leader of the terrorist group, Mohammed Sinwar, who assumed control after his brother was killed. The reports say that as many as 4 people died in this strike. It's not known to us, though, if Sinwar was among them. So we're still gathering information on that. Live from Tel Aviv, we're joined now by Jonathan Conricus. He's a senior fellow these days at the Center for the Defense of, or the Foundation for the Defense of Democracies, but of course a retired lieutenant colonel and former spokesperson for the Israel Defense Forces. Welcome back, Jonathan. Anything you can add in terms of knowledge or analysis on this strike that supposedly happened in Khan Yunis today, going after Sinwar?
Yes, hello, and thank you for having me on. What I understand is that the assessments in Israel are that the chances are pretty good that Mohammed Sinwar indeed was eliminated. I think judging by the amount of explosives and the continuity of Israeli strikes on that location, I think the chances of him surviving are pretty slim, but we never say never, and we'll have to wait for final confirmation from Palestinians and based on intel. If he was indeed taken out, then I think that could be a pretty important moment in the pretty important milestone in the war here. I wouldn't go so far as to say that this could be the end of the war, but I would say that it would weaken Hamas significantly and potentially deliver a significant blow to their ability to communicate, their command and control, and conduct operations.
So it was a big deal when his brother was killed. I remember that. Probably talked to you about it at the time.
Yep.
You say you wouldn't go so far as to say this would mean the quote-unquote end of the war. Would it mean it's more likely that the war or the fighting would stop sooner?
You know, I think that the war will end once Hamas is defeated and once they run out of option to operate militarily or to control the civilian population. I don't think that Hamas, the remaining leaders of Hamas, which there are few and far between, but anyhow, those who remain in power, I don't think that they will relinquish power because they know that what awaits them is a very dire fate at the hands of Palestinians who have been oppressed by them for many years, or at the hands of Israeli security forces. So they're between a rock and a hard place, and I don't think that they will concede defeat. And I don't think that we are really imminently there yet. Hamas still has a lot of fighters, lots of weapons, and they've stockpiled ammunition and food. And sadly, I think that what will be required will be a final significant Israeli military push against them, unless the Qataris, the Turks, the Egyptians tell them that your time is up and that enough with the war, hand over the hostages and surrender. Maybe then Hamas will listen.
Any thoughts on the news President Trump made today and his remarks in Saudi Arabia? Kelly talked about some of it, whether it's the lifting for now of sanctions against Syria or his comments about Iran. You heard the warning a moment ago. Here's a little bit more of what the president had to say about Iran. Watch.
If I can make a deal with Iran, I'll be very happy if we're going to make your region and the world a safer place. But if Iran's leadership rejects this olive branch and continues to attack their neighbors, then we will have no choice but to inflict massive maximum pressure. Iran will never have a nuclear weapon. But with that said, Iran can have a much brighter future.
What's the Israeli perspective, Jonathan, on those comments?
Well, I think that what President Trump is saying is really the best thing that the Iranians could hear. If they're really interested in a good future for their country, peace, prosperity, and stability, then President Trump is extending that olive branch. And I think he is very consistent in his positive approach towards the Iranians. I hope that once, and I believe that it's a matter of time, once President Trump will be disappointed by the cunning Iranians, by their lying and by their deceitful and cunning behavior, he will also enact the threats that he has also been mentioning. And from an Israeli perspective, when we look at the Iranians and when we listen to what they're saying, they are very cunning, they're masterful negotiators, but they are not truthful.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.